Hey everybody, so I've had a couple of requests from people to do a tutorial on how I do my boxes, and seeing I'm in the process of doing another box project, I thought I would do this to show you. So basically this particular box is going to be 8.5 by 11. It's going to have a top that has space in it as well as the bottom. I picked that size because it's just a good size to fit in one of my journals with a little bit of space on the side. So that works. And also this is going to simplify some of the cutting. So what I did is I made the bottom cuts. This is just a board I get from Amazon, and it's called medium chipboard, 8.5 by 11. So that's what I use for my boxes, and I just cut the sides for the bottom because I want the bottom thicker to be able to hold. Generally my journals have a 2-inch spine, so I want some space, so I made it, I believe it's 2.5 inches. So I cut all my pieces out. That's the bottom, and then my top is also of course 8.5 by 11, but I don't need it so thick, so I did the top. It's 1 3/4. And actually the way I came to the top for this particular instance was it was kind of what was left over after cutting these pieces, what was left over. And I thought, okay, that'll actually make a good size for the top because I'm going to put things in the top as well. So I have both the top and bottom pieces here cut. And then these are what I use to start putting things together. And these are just, I use black because that if it shows, I don't mind black showing. And I take 2 inches. This one's a little off. It's not quite 2 inches, but I take 2 inches and then I fold it down so that you have all these pieces. And this is what I use to put it together. And I will show you with the bottom piece what I do. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I just want to get, you have to decide, are you having it on the outside or the inside? That will adjust your pieces a bit. I'm going to put it on the inside, and then I'll probably have to take just some off the top edges to allow for this. So it'll be double that I'll cut off, and I'll put that in there. Let me just go do that before we go any farther. Okay, so it works out to 1/8 of an inch. So there I've scored 1/8 of an inch there. I use this to score. I mean, it's not thick enough to cut through the paper, but it does do nice scoring, nice and straight, and you don't have to fiddle with a if it's a little smaller, it's not going to really make much of a difference. Just you want to try and get it close, very close. The tiny millimeter is not going to make a difference. Okay, so those are the 2 end pieces, and this is the 2 side pieces. So what I do is I take this, because I'm going to have it on top, and these are all 8.5 by 11, so they work out pretty good that way in for covering. And I just put that right along that edge because we know that's gonna come inside of it. And then I'll do the other side. How much? I'm probably running out of glue. Oh my goodness. I broke my other cap that I had with the beads on it. Need to make a new one. I don't know how I managed to break it, but I did. Anyway. There. And then I'm going to do this side. Normally what I do is, like for these, I'm going to put them like that, and then I'm going to cut it once it's the right thing. So I'm just going to, because I like it to go right around the corner. It just gives it extra strength on the spots that are, try to get this a bit more. Make sure it's all under there. itchy face. I'm one of those crazy people. I'm allergic to cats, but I have 2 of them. It wasn't too bad with one, but then we had a second one. Crazy, but not his fault. He's an adorable cat, so I constantly have an itchy face or a cat in my shop trying to get up. They were just here when I was cleaning up so I could start this video series. There. Okay, so that's those. So then what you're going to want to do is, because at the corner here, you're going to have to cut it. So what you can do, I like to have a lip going over. So I will cut it at about an angle. Sorry, you can't see it like that. And then I cut in the corner, and then you're going to have it like that. So that's what I do with my corners, just to give them extra strength. But before we do that, we're going to put in these sides. And because, you know, this sticks pretty easy, so you don't need a really, really thick, heavy glue like the Fabri-Tac. I saved that. Also, the Fabri-Tac has a smell that kind of isn't great. I try to open my window when I use it. So I want to make sure that's along there. And I'm just going to put you on pause while I do the rest, and then we'll get... Okay, so that's basically the bottom box mostly assembled like that. What I do next is just clean this pin off to also fill up my glue. I will put pieces along the inside to give it more strength on the inside as well, since that's just a tiny bit. I mean, you're going to be going over both, so you don't have to be exact in measuring because it's going to go all the way around. So I will take another piece. I try to make my boxes as strong as possible. You know, I don't want them falling apart. So if this adds a bit more strength to them, of course they can't be out in the wet or anything, but I try to make them fairly strong. Yeah, even when you fill it, it doesn't seem to want to squeeze out very easily for me anyway. I don't know if there's a secret to it or what. So I'll put that right into the edge, press it down, and then you just take this side. It just make them strongest at their weakest points, which is always, of course, the connection points where they're together. I mean, I do run a tiny bit of glue down the side there, but it's not, it just kind of helps to hold it in place while I'm putting stuff around it. It's not great security for strength wise. So see, I'm not going to measure those because, like I said, they're going to go over each other, and there's really no point in being that exact there. Now look, glue's flowing nicely now. There we go. That's what I like. You know it's going to be a good day if your glue's flowing. How's everybody doing? We got summer plans. We're supposed to be going to, like, the journal I just finished is for my husband's first cousin twice removed, I think she is, something like that. Anyway, so she's a very sweet young lady, and it's for her. So you can also go up the middle, which I will do definitely on the outside, because I am covering the outside of this, and you won't see that so much. I'm not overly worried about the outside, but the inside does get a bit more attention. I'm gonna do something completely different that I've never used before. I'm not covering it in paper, I'm not covering it in fabric. I'm actually covering it in faux leather to make it look even more like a case. Yeah, I may be crazy, I may lose my mind, but we'll give it a go. It's a sticky back faux leather, so it's just one of those things where I'm gonna have to be really careful with how I do this. I mean, I think you could use like glue stick on this too if you really wanted to, because this stuff is really dry. It absorbs like this glue really quickly, and so I'm not too worried about using something a little bit wetter. Suppose you could use Mod Podge, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't slather it on, because you don't want a really, there, and one more for the side. Get that done. Hopefully I'm in frame. I'm not used to doing these things. And there's a reason why I don't do these, because one, I'm using my cell phone. So it's, I do want to set up with my camera. I have a good camera, because I actually used to do photography. And but I have a very limited space here where my little shop is. It's growing, definitely has grown a lot, but it's still quite limited. And normally, like if I'm covering it with paper, I would do a row along the top, along here as well, all the way around, just because if there's going to be any edges, because I wouldn't bring my paper right to the edge, I would do a row there, and then this would just be on the frame on the inside. And then if you're going to do that and you want this to look prettier, do that, you'd have to not do it exactly like that. You'd have to do it like this and then put that on. It just makes it look a little neater. But my goal right now with this one is to make sure it has lots of strength. That's my main goal right now, because I don't want it to fall apart. I mean, you could measure this and just cut them to the exact size and stuff, but once I get this going, you'll see that you don't need to be so precise at this point. Okay, and I'll do the same thing with the top piece, and then I will come back when that is done and I will show you what they both look like. Thanks for watching. Okay, there's the top and the bottom prepped. Like I said, if you are going to use paper to cover it, I would recommend that you go around the edges if you're going to cut your paper smaller than the side. And that will give you this nice crisp edge around here. And then when you do the corners, I'll do a little one here. You do a diagonal cut like that on both sides, because you don't really want the seam to end right on the corner, because then you're going to have like that piece going out. You do a diagonal like that and a diagonal like that. Of course, you'll have the piece coming down here, so that will, you would do that first, and then you would do your diagonals like that, so it gives you a nice crisp corner. If something does happen and you do get a little something showing up, if you do get a little something, you can always take a black marker and just go along in the corner, because if it's not going to be, it's not going to be, it's just the box showing through, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, and you can just fix it like that, and it's going to be, you know, still just as sturdy. So that's how I do this. I'm still trying to decide if I want to open it like a chest or if I want to open it this way. So that's my next decision. So that'll be it for this video. My next video will have me putting the covers on, the faux leather. So thanks again. Come back for the next one.